Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Nerd Herd Live. We are live tonight with an exciting show for you all. We were all kind of joking about the name of tonight's show because
that kind of show.
It may or may not get more people to watch. We'll see. But we are going to be going through entertainment news, a number of film reviews, including Cocaine Bear, Ant-Man, and Creed 3, which will happen after 10 p.m. because that is when embargo drops and that is when Matt is allowed to talk about it. And we also have 2 exclusive interviews with the current Bachelor, Zach Shallcross, and my personal favorite Bachelor in Paradise couple of Joe and Serena. And those interviews come from SCAD TV Fest, which I was able to do. I think that was last week. All the days run together, but so we're gonna share those with you. But to kick us off, let's run through our intros in case you don't know who we are. Matt, kick it to you first.
I am Matt Rodriguez. I am the owner and chief editor of Shakefire.net. Robert.
Robert Prentice, owner and editor at 3fbyspace.net. Jen.
Jen Steele. I'm a senior writer at fanbolt.com. And Emma.
And that's me. I am the editor and founder of fanbolt.com. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're going to dive right into it, and we're going to start off with some entertainment news. And Matt, what you got for us?
All right. Well, I got some breaking entertainment news that basically just came out today.
We need that.
Yeah. It's like we need that. We need our intro music. We need all these things. We need a budget first. So.
Sponsors? Yeah.
But yeah, so
if there's an independent band out there that would like to record an intro for us, please reach out.
Indeed. But yeah, so depending on where you fall, this could either be great news or horrible news. Lord of the Rings. Everybody loves it. The movies are classics. Like, to me, they feel like they're untouchable. Like, just leave them alone. Let them be. But today, Warner Brothers has revealed that they are moving forward and that they will be creating new films from the Lord of the Rings franchise. Now, it was just announced, so the details are still very, very sparse. So we don't know exactly what that means. Like, are they going to be doing like spin-off films where it's like an Aragorn movie here or, you know, something like that? Or are they going to be remaking the Lord of the Rings books?
No. God help me, no.
We don't know what exact rights they have from the Tolkien estate at the moment, because, like, you know, with Rings of Power that just came out, Amazon, they don't have rights to the Jen, say it.
Silmarillion?
Silmarillion, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I remember that.
So there are some, yeah. Jen is our go-to person.
Yes.
Our language expert.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's like Amazon doesn't have the rights to that, so they can't use anything from that book. So it's a lot of stuff is up in the air, but it's like, to me, my first instinct, Lord of the Rings movies, they're gonna be like remaking the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I
really
hope not.
I really hope not.
Yeah. I mean, because you could make the argument that, and very, 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 very small argument, that they could redo The Hobbit. Because
they could redo The Hobbit.
The way they broke up the movies, there was a lot of dislike, especially with the middle one.
Yeah.
But the original 3, hell
yeah.
no.
Don't touch them.
No.
Yeah. It's way too soon to touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, they're perfect. Like, they don't need to be touched.
The extended edition is great for those that know the material and see all the little tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like what they did with like Return of the Jedi, where they added, you know, the Force ghosts when the prequels came out, sort of thing.
No.
It's like, don't touch them.
We just changed the Force ghosts. They were already there.
Fair.
But yeah, but I mean, it is good because Peter Jackson, who directed the original trilogy and The Hobbits, he has been in talks with them, just like he has been made aware, and talking with Warner Brothers. So it's not like he's signed on to direct or produce or do anything as of right now. I mean, everything about this is still super fresh, but I mean, it also feels inevitable. Like, Lord of the Rings is a huge franchise, and Warner Brothers has the rights to it at all, and to make it, so to just have it and not make a film out of that,
Yeah.
it's kind of to be expected, but it's still a little bittersweet, and we will see.
I mean, if they have the rights to the Silmarillion, there is plenty of ground to cover there.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed. That's what I'd like to see personally.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God. I went to, way back when, throwing this back to our Dragon Con episode. I think I might have mentioned it. But I went to a, Worlds of the Lord of the Rings panel. And it discussed all the different, areas within Middle Earth and everywhere else, and all, just the level of detail and stuff that isn't in the main Lord of the Rings lore that everybody knows. Is just, it's so vast, and they can really pull from pretty much anywhere and have enough story to tell without having to recreate the trilogy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
we
will see.
We shall see.
Right.
Hollywood needs to not keep remaking things, but expand things and do new things. Don't touch what's not broken.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, what you got for us?
Well, speaking of things that they need to stop rebooting,
oh my God.
Hellboy is getting yet another reboot, not even 4 years after the last one. Listen, David Harbour is awesome. Love him in Stranger Things. His take on Hellboy was not my favorite. I was not a big fan of that movie and the direction that they went with. I feel like the original two were great. Who they had playing those characters were really well done, and the universe they built around it was great.
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, exactly. So now they're going to follow a different direction. So director Brian Taylor is going to be helming the film currently titled Hellboy: The Crooked Man. It is a script that was created by Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, and it's based on a comic book story written by Mignola himself. So it is based in sort of the source material, and they're shooting for an R-rated take on the character. Not that the other ones weren't R-rated.
I was going to say.
But they're sticking with that. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. But at the same time, it's like we're going to go for a third reboot in as many years.
Yeah. I tried to watch the latest one with David Harbour, and I ended up falling asleep.
Yes. Yeah.
Raving endorsement.
It's funny
and
because
well,
the villain is Mila Jovovich.
Mm-hmm.
I remember her from the early days of The Fifth Element. That was sort of her breakthrough role.
Yeah.
And she was great back then. Nowadays,
franchise.
Early days of that as well. I feel like lately she's putting herself in a lot of low budget films that just don't have the same hold. And I don't know that it's necessarily her versus the writing and the story that she's being given, but this latest Hellboy, her character as a villain just wasn't compelling. It wasn't this mysterious big bad, and it was kind of cocky and just not very well fleshed out. And that could just be a writer director issue, because again, not Guillermo del Toro, like the original ones. And I think that plays a big difference. So they're supposed to start filming in Bulgaria later this year. No release date's been announced.
And no cast either, right?
No cast. We don't know anything on that yet. But if they're going to start filming later this year, my guess is we're going to start hearing about cast probably late summer, early fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Fingers
Jen,
crossed.
what do you got for us?
So in Marvel news, and also breaking news, I think this only dropped about an hour, maybe 2 hours ago. Personally, one of my favorite parts of the Hawkeye show was Rogers the Musical. It's actually coming to stage. So, it will be coming to stage in Disneyland's California Adventure to the Hyperion Theater, which is where they do like the Aladdin and all sorts of things within the park. So yeah, you have to have a park ticket to see it. It's going to be a limited run. It's going to happen in the summer, and that's all we know. They literally just announced this, like I said, about 2 hours ago, and they said details will be forthcoming. So, but apparently they'll do it all day.
Yes. I hope they have Jeremy Renner in the audience for every show.
I mean, if they know they should. If nothing else, they really need to have like the character who walks around, like the cast member who walks around playing Hawkeye, just like sitting in the audience every day.
Just get his stunt double there.
Right? So yeah, if you plan on being in California this summer, check it out.
Disney trip.
Disney
Nerd Herd Disney trip.
Oh, I mean, that's happening anyways.
Well, Disney World is happening. I keep saying we need to do a Nerd Herd Disneyland trip.
Fair point.
Never
been to that one.
It's not a super long train ride away from Comic-Con. I'm just saying.
Jen's been trying to talk me into this excursion for probably like a decade, roughly.
Yeah.
I mean, I went there years and years ago, like maybe within the past decade, I think.
The first and only time I went was, I think, 2019. And the castle was behind a scrim. So,
doesn't have the same magic.
well, it wasn't there. Well, I mean, it was technically there, but like it was under construction. They were doing some renovations. I'm like, I flew out to California, and like the one icon here is behind a scrim. What the hell?
Just gotta go back.
Disney ruined.
I have pictures of me just going, oh.
Awesome.
Well, I don't have.
Do you have any news?
Not really. I have something that I saw that I wanted to share. House of the Dragon, which is supposed to start filming season 2 this year, as we all have lovingly referred to it as Hot D.
Matches the name of the show today.
Yep. Yep.
All right, go ahead.
They are aiming for a early summer 2024 release. So we are still more than a year out from more of that series, and that is very loosely just what they're aiming for now. So we'll keep you guys posted on actual release date information, but the good news is they're going to be filming this year, and it is coming. So I mean, that's better than it not coming. So just hang in there.
Fair point.
More Hot D coming.
More Hot D is coming.
Oh my goodness.
In our Bachelors Bears episode.
Yeah.
Is this a repeat of our Magic Mike episode?
Yeah.
Pretty much. We do have some themes that have been happening.
I mean,
there is.
That's kind of the perfect transition. So
we are a late night show. So I mean, as these things go.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So last week, I think it was last week, may have been 2 weeks ago. Actually, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I got to go to SCAD TV Fest, and they always have a really great lineup every year. And this year, when I saw their lineup, they had The Bachelor there, which if you had told me 3 years ago that I would have become a Bachelor Nation fan, I would have said, that's funny. That's not going to happen. And then COVID happened, and I ran out of things to watch. And then I watched a whole lot of Bachelor. And so now I'm like thoroughly invested in Bachelor universe, and the fact that they had some of the cast members there, the current Bachelor, Zach Shallcross, and then two of my favorite couple ever from the whole Bachelor realm, Joe and Serena. So I want to share a couple snippets from my interviews with them. One of my favorite moments, I was just thinking, like, before I actually started interviewing them, and I knew I was going to be nervous, and everyone here knows that when I get nervous, I break out in hives. So it's like super cool. Very embarrassing. I wear a lot of turtlenecks when I'm doing interviews. But
maybe you're allergic to turtlenecks.
No, like that's
You're allergic to interviews.
I'm allergic to
That too.
I'm allergic to speaking to people, I think is what it is. It's hardcore social anxiety, which seems to be getting worse the older I get. So that's a fun bridge to cross. But when I'm specifically like really excited about something, it's like it's a thing of nerves and anxiety. And as I was talking to them, I thought to myself, I was like, well, these are, granted, most of the people that go on these shows are Instagram influencers or whatever you want to call them, as they kind of go into being in this universe. But still, the idea of not being in this world of kind of reality stars and then having to talk to a camera and answer questions and like really kind of be vulnerable and like date people on TV, like that's got to be awkward as heck, right? Like that's got to be. Mm-hmm. So I was like, why not just ask about like the most social anxiety or most anxiety that they felt on the show and like how they worked their way through it. And Zach's answer was my favorite, so I will share that with you all now.
I hit up a pretty good restaurant last night called King Duke.
That is the Atlanta interview. That's the wrong one. Let's try that again.
And that is how you know we are live.
That's how we roll here. And take two. Here we go.
Into the cameras, and you got to know the crew and stuff. What would you say was your most nerve-wracking moment, and how did you handle that anxiety in the moment?
Great question. I think the most nerve-wracking was my first ever shower scene. I, many years growing up, very self-conscious of my body image, and, going onto the show and having specific days of, all right, it's shower time, let's see it. I was terrified, I couldn't sleep, the night before, and it just was a slow transition of, becoming comfortable with it and getting close to the camera crew and realizing, it's just a big old machine on this guy's shoulder. I'm happy with who I am. Let's just do it. Because it conveys if you're scared in front of the camera and taking a shower. So I'm like, screw it. I'm taking showers with camera people all the time. So let's do it.
Are they giving you direction in the moment?
They do.
Okay.
Oh, so it's because you get a little nervous.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, scrub. And then they're like, no, you got to scrub also your armpits. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm forgetting how to shower. So that was the most nerve-wracking, that when I was able to overcome it, it feels good. I was able to just accomplish that, I guess.
Love it.
I feel like that's a relatable answer from anybody in that situation, right?
Yeah.
What? So are they?
Matt,
is this? So I've never seen The Bachelor.
Neither have I.
Or any of the Bachelor stuff. So is this supposed to be what was it, Big Brother, where the cameras are always rolling? What is this shower where they're let's see, where he said let's see it? It was what?
So there is I posted that interview clip with an example on Fanbolt, so you can actually see it. It's shot as B-roll when they're basically talking about him or they're talking about the girls. I'll share it as a comment here and to share.
I'm
everywhere.
assuming it's probably waist up.
Yes, it's appropriate. They're not,
Network TV.
There are no was it the
ABC.
blurred out?
It's ABC. This is still owned by Disney. Calm down, Matt.
But I do think that's like an interesting thing to have to. I just imagine the world, you know, way back in the day, and Jen was there for this. We felt, you filmed the one scene with me, or 2 scenes of.
You guys filmed a shower scene?
Not a shower scene.
Not that you know of.
I was once the front woman
Context.
for a reality TV series that never happened.
Yeah.
And
Oh my god.
That I remember.
Years ago.
I remember the trailer.
Yes.
the trailer.
You need to play the trailer. You should play
I
the
don't know who technically has the legal rights to that trailer.
I was about to say, can we legally show that?
It was high production value. Like, this was the company that was actually going to be producing it was a company called My Trupolo, and they had a number of other shows, a lot of stuff in the paranormal space. They did like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures or one of those shows. This was back in 2013, and the whole concept was, it was called Geek Girls, and it was basically like if you took The Hills and all of them were nerds and girls, this would have been that show. And I think it was honestly just like 2 years ahead of its time, because it was the whole concept that like these girls really all had each other's back, and it was kind of them against the world. A little bit of drama, but like not typical reality show drama.
That's the first season. Once they get renewed for the second season, then they go
it's
full
all
drama.
Yeah.
We all liked each other
At the time.
At the start,
time.
yeah. How many episodes did you film?
We filmed a pilot.
Yeah.
We didn't
That's
get-
not enough time to hate each other.
That's not enough time to hate each other. But it was a really interesting experience, because obviously writing about entertainment and all of us kind of like loosely understanding that reality television is somewhat scripted. Like the scenarios that you're put in are scripted, and then what you do in those moments are usually somewhat natural, unless they didn't catch it or they had bad audio and then you got to redo them. But it is kind of interesting. Like, I think my perception of reality TV after having done that and realizing like really what that kind of concept is of like living some degree of your life in front of, you know, America, essentially. Not that I did that, because obviously no one bought the show. It didn't happen. But I do think it's, especially in the Bachelor world, where if you actually take the amount of time that the Bachelor or the Bachelorette has spent with the person that they end up proposing to, it's only about 72 hours, and 12 of those hours are in the fantasy suite, which is when they don't have Jen's face. That doesn't mean that they're
cameras.
having sexy time. It just means
cameras.
It just means there's no cameras, and I mean, a lot of them are having sexy time.
It's just implied strongly that they're having sexy time.
Implied heavily, but I mean, it is really the only time that you get to kind of have these important conversations, or these couples get to have them without the cameras present. So knowing that they kind of get to the end of this journey and they've only had about 72 hours of like one-on-one time with the person they're like proposing to, it kind of, I mean,
That's insane.
It's insane. It's insane. There are successful relationships in this realm, although I would say most of them do not come from The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. They come from Bachelor in Paradise, which is filmed over about 3 weeks in Mexico, and they're just together 24/7. So it's a little bit more kind of time to get to know someone. And on that note, I will introduce my second interview. So once again, I have Zach, and then I also have Joe and Serena in this. And I was basically asking them about their favorite Atlanta spots, and none of them had really spent a lot of time in Atlanta. So they just referenced where they ate last night, which was fine, because after I stopped filming, Zach told me how he was going to the Varsity and how he loved the Varsity. And I was like, well,
Dude,
I'm not going to say anything.
not hot. Thank you.
But that being said, here are Zach, Joe, and Serena, 2 separate interviews talking about where they love to eat in Atlanta.
We did hit up a pretty good restaurant last night called King Plus Duke, or King Duke.
Yeah.
Really good old fashions, and they had this pudding dessert that was insane. But I do want to hit up Varsity before I go, see if it's still as good as I remember as a kid.
I've been to Atlanta. This is my third time. I love the Inman Park area, and I thought they had great restaurants. I don't remember any names off the top of my head. We went to, where did we go last night?
King and Duke.
That was a great restaurant. I got the chicken. Serena had the branzino.
Branzino was literally incredible.
Mashed potatoes were really good.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like some mashed potatoes?
Yeah, the bread they brought to the table. Oh my god, I'm so hungry right now. I've been one time before. I came in from Hilton Head for one night to see a Raptors game. We got like super cheap nosebleed seats. This was like 3-4 years ago, and yeah, that was fun. Like honestly, it was great. Like it was a good sporting event. We went for pizza after, but this is only my second time. I feel like I've been in the hotel the whole time I've been here, other than dinner last night. So that would be my only like regret from this trip. Everything about this interview is about food. We should have eaten before we did this.
Well, I was going to ask if you brought your sauce with you.
I bring my sauce everywhere. Sundays with Joe.
So the
What?
fun
He has a sauce.
Sundays with Joe. He is lovingly known in the Bachelor universe as Grocery Store Joe. He was on one season of The Bachelorette. She sent him home the first night. Didn't even had like roughly 3 seconds of screen time. And then he went back and was on 2 seasons of The Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise. And Joe and Serena just got married last year. So like they are an example of like a couple that has worked. But he owns like some grocery stores, I believe, I may be saying this wrong, in the Chicago area. And he has his own marinara sauce, which it is called Sundays with Joe. So you can look it up. It's remarkably affordable. I'm actually going to order some because we all know how I feel about sauce. I'm a big fan of sauces. So.
And you're not allergic to any of them yet.
Not allergic to any of them.
I like how he added yet.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm still developing allergies to everything. Stand by.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I may share a couple more of those as we kind of go throughout the next couple of weeks as we get towards the finale of the show. But they were remarkably cool people, and that was just really cool to kind of see. I may be wrong in saying this, but I don't think Scad has done a whole lot with reality television. And Joe actually has a podcast called Clickbait, which he does with another one of the Bachelor Nation people. And I haven't actually listened to it, but they filmed a live episode at SCAD. So it was kind of a cool part of the festival.
Oh, nice.
Bringing in the podcast world and the reality TV world. So
I've never actually been, what was it, King and Duke?
King and Duke, it's in Buckhead. Yeah, it's good.
I've never been there. Is it good?
I've been once. I had a really good old fashioned.
I was about to say, how does their old? He said he enjoyed their old fashioned. Is it good?
Was good. It was not. I wouldn't put it in my top 3 in Atlanta, but I would definitely have it in. It'd probably be 4 or 5. Honestly, it was good. It was good. Okay. So it's worth checking out. It's a nice little spot in Buckhead. It's kind of there at that corner where like Buckhead, Atlanta is, and there's just like everything. Like Garden Room and Atlas and all those fancy places. But on that note, let's dive into our movie reviews. We're gonna kick things off. I mean, this is perfect because the title of our show was Bachelors Bears Oh My. So let's dive straight into Cocaine Bear. And
woo,
Matt, why don't you?
And that's me, because I am the only one who went and saw the highly anticipated Cocaine Bear. And this is my Coke straw that they gave out.
They gave you cocaine?
No, they did not. We did not get cocaine. But they gave us straws.
Is that a plastic straw?
It is a paper straw.
One-time use.
And it looks like money. So it's a little bit. I feel so like somebody would. So I've never done cocaine. Just want to put that out there.
Put that out there. You're not an expert at cocaine.
I am not a cocaine expert,
and we do not condone the use of cocaine.
No.
We're going to do like a crawler thing.
But from the movies and television I've seen and all the media I've seen surrounding cocaine, it's like this is a normal size straw. Like cocaine straws are like the dollar bill size. So like they need to be the tiny.
And they should
It's
have
like
just
I feel like
I feel like you have to have like strong lungs to get the cocaine all the way up.
I know, right? Granted, I feel like if they gave like legit cocaine straws, like that would have been probably caused controversy. Be like,
weird, yeah.
We don't want you to actually use this for cocaine.
We want you to use this to drink your Coca-Cola.
Right?
You used to have cocaine in it.
Yeah.
But yes, so I saw Cocaine Bear this week. And if you don't know, basically the film is directed by Elizabeth Banks, and it's actually based on a true story from here in Georgia, where a drug smuggler basically had to dump. He was flying a plane over Georgia, and he had to dump his cocaine. And so he just threw it out the plane. It landed in a Georgia forest. The drug smuggler ended up dying because his cocaine he had cocaine on his body and he weighed too much for the parachute to properly carry him. And so he hit the ground, died. But there was cocaine that landed all over the Chattahoochee Forest in Georgia. And a bear ended up eating a bunch of cocaine. And in real life, the bear pretty much immediately died of a heart attack. Because you can't survive eating like bricks and bricks of cocaine, even if you're a big old bear. And I forget where, but the bear is actually like stuffed at like in some store. They have the actual cocaine bear stuffed and on display.
I feel like this is something that would be like a Buc-ee's somewhere.
Yeah,
I know, it does seem like a Buc-ee's.
But like so like that's where the realism end. And basically in this film, like the bear eats cocaine and just goes on a rampage in this national park in Chattahoochee National Park, trying to find more cocaine, and will do whatever and rip apart whoever to get more cocaine. And it is the most ridiculous movie of the year. Like, it's crazy. It's got a crazy cast. So like Kerry Russell is in it. Margot Martindale. It's Ray Liotta's last film, which is like, it's heartbreaking and amazing, and he's great in it. And it's like a compilation of all the roles he's done where he's just crazy. He plays the lead drug smuggler, like drug lord, kind of kingpin kind of guy. It's got O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, in it. Alden Ehrenreich, who was Han Solo, he's in it. And it's like, it's got this whole cast, and they're all just great. Like, they're all just having fun on set because it's a ridiculous premise. It's a ridiculous movie, and it embraces that. So like, that's the fun in it. Like, it's called Cocaine Bear. You know exactly what you're getting into.
Exactly what it says on the tin.
Right? And that's what it delivers. It's this bear coked out of its mind who is just rampaging through the forest. Like, it tears people apart. Like, it is a bloody, and like, there are horror elements to this movie. So like, if you are a faint of heart, maybe be a little bit wary. But I mean, it's like, I feel like it's gonna gain cult status. Like, if you're a fan of like Super Troopers or Pineapple Express, like the stoner movies, you're gonna enjoy Cocaine Bear.
I feel like Florida's going to come out with a sequel called Cocaine Croc.
I think all
right. That actually leads me to a group question. So, what do you think would be the most dangerous animal to be high on cocaine?
Hippo.
Killer whale.
The orcas.
Orca.
I think a
I'm gonna go with
squirrel.
hippo.
I'd say a squirrel only because it's small. It's small and hard to catch, and if it's coked out of its mind, you're going to be freaking out trying to find that thing. Something
That
as
would be
big as a
hilarious.
bear or a gator or orca, like you can see that coming, right?
Yeah.
But a squirrel,
Squirrel.
a squirrel's going to be like that wolf spider the size of your hand on the ceiling, where you're like, just burn the fucking place down. Just, I'm done.
Coke squirrel.
Coke
so
squirrel.
if the studio behind Cocaine Bear is listening to this,
For ideas.
here's your ideas for sequels. Coke
Well,
squirrel.
I mean,
Squirrel.
you know, let's face it, the sci-fi Sharknadoes set up this genre to be a thing that people enjoy. I mean, and there was stuff before that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, I was gonna say, like, it's interesting because, like, you know, like, I think of like the Sharknadoes in the movies, like The Room, where it's like they're so bad that they're good,
right?
And like Cocaine Bear isn't one of those films. Like, I feel like it is a legitimately like entertaining movie. It's not one of those movies where it's so bad it's good. Like, it's not bad.
It's just good.
It's just good. Like, it's just entertaining. It knows what it is and embraces that. It's like the performances and everything are good. Like, nobody does a bad job, and everybody's having fun and just embracing it all. So, like, it's not on that level. It's like in between this weird, like, it's not gonna win any awards or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, it's nowhere near that level. But it's just a fun popcorn movie.
So it's like that one West, like, zombie Western that had all the boy bands in it.
Which movie is this?
It's like Dead 7 or something. Hold on. I think it was called Dead 7. It was.
I don't know when did that come out?
I don't know either.
Have you not heard of this? Oh my God. It was amazing. It was 2016.
I have not.
And honest to God, they just got together like all of the 90s boy bands. I mean, they had like Backstreet Boys, they had 98 Degrees, they had like all of them. Instinct, just members from it.
I vaguely remember this.
And they made a zombie Western.
Yeah.
Is it called Dead 7?
It's called Dead 7. And I watched it with another group on a bad movie night. And it was just, Joey Fatone was the best part of it because he was the only one who clearly knew what kind of movie he was in. So he was just like this completely like drunk cowboy dude. And it was amazing.
I have not heard of that movie. So
it was brilliant.
I don't know if it came
I'll
out
have to add it to my watch list.
I don't know that it did come out in theaters, but it was hilarious.
Fun times.
Check out Dead 7 if you want a popcorn movie. That is a post-apocalyptic zombie Western.
I will say Cocaine Bear has 71% right now on Rotten Tomatoes and 79% audience score, which granted it's not technically out until tomorrow or I guess tonight at midnight or whatever.
Or I think they usually do the early Thursday night screening, so probably like 7:00 tonight, a few hours ago.
But that's not bad for the I mean, there's other films that come out this week that have a much lower score.
Yeah.
So.
Or another film that we'll be talking about shortly that has a much, much lower score.
Which is surprising to me, but
we'll get to that. But
yeah. Are you talking about Ant-Man or Creed?
Are you allowed to say which one you got? Okay, there we go.
All right. Well,
It's tied for Eternals with like the worst Rotten Tomato score. But then again, even though like I'm the only Rotten Tomato certified critic here, but like I wasn't a brag. But it's like I feel like way too many people put the focus on Rotten Tomato score and like what that means and how that means and like the interpretation. Like so many people get the interpretation of what a Rotten Tomato score is, where it's like, oh my god, like a 90% movie, like oh my god, that must be amazing, versus something that gets like 60% and stuff where it doesn't say about the quality of the movie, just the amount of people who like it versus don't like it. It's very black and white. So like you actually have to look at the reviews, because like a 10 out of 10 movie would be rated the same as, say, a 6 out of 10 movie. For Rotten Tomatoes critic score, like those are the same. Both of those are fresh. Both of those are quote unquote good movies. So like, you know, it's very one or the other. It's either fresh or it's either rotten. And yeah, you can put the score and stuff. So like 60% means 60% of the audiences gave the movie a fresh rating. So they gave it above 50%. They don't tell you where on that scale it is. So like it's very black and white, and you gotta kind of look deeper into it to be able to actually fully understand the score. But yeah,
I didn't realize that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is that low on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it's
it is.
What's it at? I think it's like at 40 something.
49 for critics, but it's at 84 for audiences. So, and this is something I've been seeing a lot more lately, and I think it speaks exactly to your point, Matt. Is the disparity between critics and audience? It's always been there, right? I mean, it's always existed. Yeah. But it seems like it's been getting wider and wider in recent years. And, it like one review I was just reading from a critic on here basically said, a return to what Marvel does best, teasing the next movie. That sounds like a shot at it, right? He gave it a 2.4 out of 5, but still rated it as fresh.
Huh.
So again, to your point, it's like there's such a wide range within fresh versus rotten.
Yeah. And it is 100% up to the critic themselves. So like when, behind the scenes on Rotten Tomatoes, critics, we ourselves are entering the information into Rotten Tomatoes. So like we go in, we say whether it's fresh or rotten. We give it a score if we actually grade it. So
what kind of score do you give it? Like, what is the?
They have it's a blank entry. So they accept. You could rate it A through F kind of thing. You can do whatever kind of numerical score you want, or stars. Like it has the option, basically, whatever scoring system you want to use. But some publications don't actually do a score.
Yeah,
they have their review, and like you're supposed to read the review, and they'll say. So like you guys, we've all been that point where it's like we're writing a review, and like we have an idea in our mind whether this is good or bad. But like as we're writing the review, we're like, this sounds like the words I'm writing are really terrible or really good, and like which. As you're writing, where it's like, this is definitely not, like, I'm being way harsher in my words than what I initially thought.
Oh, yeah. Been there more than a few times.
Oh, yeah. So, like,
I stop and get a cup of coffee sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all subjective.
Yeah.
It's all, like, what each individual critic believes. And so, like, you can't even look at their score and be like, okay, because, my 2.5 could be completely different from somebody else's 2.5. Just like Robert said, like somebody rated it 2.4 and gave it a fresh. Yeah. In my view, like I would never, like 2.5 is my limit of, anything under 2.5 is rotten.
Right.
And anything above 2.5 is fresh. And then 2.5 can kind of go either way. So like, it's all subjective, but like people see that percentage number and that's everything, and they don't look into it deeper.
Well, the real question is, do we feel like audiences are burnt out on superhero
Marvel.
films and Marvel.
I mean,
honestly,
I feel like I am.
Yeah, I feel like I am too.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't dislike Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? I mean, it was, I think, Jonathan Majors is probably the best thing to come out of it and what he means for, the next big bad. But I just feel like the urgency to see more films and the buildup of what Thanos was going to do, like, I don't have that sense with Marvel right now.
no.
So I'm not clamoring to go and see, more and more stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm more interested in what Marvel's doing on TV right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the shows that have come out, with some exceptions, have been really fun. And I just don't feel like sitting still for 2 hours in a theater for kind of the same stuff that may not be quite as clever. I mean, WandaVision was amazing.
Yeah.
WandaVision was rare, though. I mean, something of that quality. And what I would argue with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania specifically is that if there has been any movie that's come out in theaters, Marvel movie, that should have been a show, it's probably this one, because there was just too much packed into one movie, and you can't appreciate the grandiose of the different elements of the quantum realm that they're presenting to you, because these environments are so rich. And as you're watching it, you're just like, okay, well, this was clearly like inspired by Star Wars, because all of these environments are so similar, but you don't get enough time in them. You don't get to go deep enough to really appreciate what they created with it. And then it's just like every single character has their own arc, which is just, they managed to do this movie, and you can watch it and you can follow it and you cannot be confused, but like your brain hurts afterwards, because it's just like it's too much packed.
It is a lot of movie, and it's only in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which is, for a Marvel movie, that's pretty short.
Yeah, it's super, super dense. I mean, you could have done a whole season of Janet and what she did in the quantum realm, right?
Yeah.
And you would have gotten more Bill Murray's character, Lord Krylar, which was just, we got a little bit of fun time with him. But yeah, I do agree. I still liked it, but my biggest distraction on it was that it was a very dense movie. To your point, short,
it's a lot of
and a lot.
exposition.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It really felt like they were setting up the entire next phase.
Right.
In just this one movie.
I mean, I feel like that is what they're doing, and what.
Well, it is,
yeah. That was
their
intent.
Tried to cram all
I
in.
feel like now that we have Disney Plus and all these Marvel shows, like, I feel like in a way that's kind of ruined the films, because I always feel like no matter what the film now moving forward, like, that's just the way of the format. That TV, you're going to have more time with the characters, and you're going to be able to go deeper into them and explore everything. While film, like, you're just not going to get that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even with this movie, parts of it made a lot more sense if you'd watched Loki.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Tons more sense if you'd watched Loki.
And that's the challenge, right? Is that the audiences have to be a lot more invested to really get more out of the denser story. I mean, from a movie perspective, we still have 2 more movies this year for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Marvels and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So, they're still jamming in a lot of movies each year right now. Plus the TV shows.
Yeah.
It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
Frankly.
So
I mean,
why? Because I know Kevin Feige actually, like, they announced at some event or something where it's like they're actually cutting back. I think they originally, like, were going to do like 10 different properties between, the TV shows and the films and stuff, like, within the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we're going to kind of focus down and narrow it to, like, we're only going to release 5. I think they announced.
Yeah.
So like they're gonna actually kind of spread things out, so like we're not overwhelmed where it's like, okay, I gotta watch this, I gotta watch this show on Disney Plus, then I gotta go to the theaters to see this movie and then watch this show. And because like right now there's so much you have to keep up with, and it's overwhelming.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, with the new Marvel movie, 2 out of the 3 characters were primarily Disney Plus characters.
Yeah,
they were. Yep.
So
WandaVision, and
I don't know. I would say because I mean mostly the what's her name, Photon.
That she said she was on WandaVision.
She was in WandaVision, but I say she had a bigger role in Miss Marvel, in Captain Marvel.
No, that's her daughter.
No, she was the pilot, right?
No, that's Photon is the pilot's daughter.
Oh, the pilot's okay.
Yeah.
Is it the same actress?
No.
I don't think so. No,
I don't know why.
In Miss Marvel, she was in Captain Marvel. She was and then we meet her as an adult.
I have different characters mixed.
Yeah,
up.
you're thinking of Monica Rambeau. This is, oh my god, I forgot her first name. It's still Rambeau, but it's not Monica anymore.
Is it not Monica? It's not Monica.
No.
Okay.
That was her daughter, who we do meet in the Captain Marvel movie, but as a child.
Okay.
Because that was the 90s.
This is Marvel. It's all but all so confusing. Too many characters, too much.
That's exactly the problem.
And then the other one was again Miss Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
So many different names, also similar.
Yeah.
Well, and then Miss Marvel introduces essentially mutants. So we know X-Men is coming. We know Fantastic Four is coming. There's it's like just spidering out into this endless.
A spider's a different property.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but it isn't.
It is the multiverse saga. So now we have all these multiverse, and now all this stuff. So
it's a challenge.
If they cross over, if they cross over with DC, I'm done. That's all I can say.
Street Fighter type movie. No, wait, there's something else there.
You know, like I am fully confident that they are going to do like a Marvel versus DC movie
at some point.
And honestly, at this point, James Gunn is the perfect person because now he is running DC, the DC universe. He has ties and experience with Marvel. Like, further, I would not be surprised if in like say 5 years they announce this crossover with James Gunn being like the person in charge of it.
I would love to see them go like ridiculously meta with like the different film styles for each scene. Yeah. Like anything with DC in it has that kind of like dark grittiness and all the Marvel stuff is like bright and colorful.
And don't forget blurry.
And blurry, yeah.
Ouch.
Hey,
that'd be hilarious to me. Thank you.
Like, are we gonna actually go back and actually like review Ant-Man? Have we really?
We haven't actually reviewed the movie yet. We just talked about Marvel.
I mean,
talked about it. Sounds like we've been like really grinding on Marvel and Ant-Man and stuff, but like I like the film. Like I enjoyed it. It's good.
It's fun.
It's solid. Yeah. I think it's a good start to the phase because it's the beginning of phase 5. Mm-hmm. It introduces Kang. Jonathan Majors is amazing as Kang. I love him as Kang.
Yeah.
And like I'm glad that I feel like he has the capacity to do all these different variants.
Yeah.
Because like we saw him as He Who Remains in Loki, the Loki season finale.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we see him as Kang, the Conqueror, in Ant-Man. And he is definitely, they have the Kang Dynasty coming out, Secret Wars. Those are going to be the big Avengers level movies. And he's the big bad, the next Thanos. And I feel like he's going to do a good job with it.
Yeah, he came off really, really good with the range in this movie. And Ant-Man and the Wasp had a certain level of comedy similar to Guardians of the Galaxy with Paul Rudd. And that still exists here with this film, which was great. And then watching him have to get serious against Kang was a nice shift for that character as well. I do agree that I think a TV show beforehand would have been good to like, or instead of the film would have been good to sort of expand that story a little bit more. But if I compare this to the start of Phase 4, I think that this start had far more juice in it for us to sort of propel into Phase 5, right? With the other one, it felt like we were puttering and it was really slow. And
what was that? Black Widow?
It was Black Widow.
Yeah, start of Phase
4. 4 just felt like filler to me.
Yeah,
I mean, we had a couple of gems in that, but as a whole, it didn't really move anything forward.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It felt like it was, getting rid of the old and introducing all the new, like all the young new cast who are gonna, take up the mantle.
Looking back at my review, and it's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about how like you read your review and you're like, oh, that sounds so much harsher than like but like I stand behind it. I mean, so what did I say here? I said it's a massive start for Phase 5, but that's part of the major issue here. It's massive. There's so much happening that's overwhelming. While it's surprisingly not hard to follow, the amount of story and setup here feels like it's waterboarding the audience. It's too much to resonate.
Oh, damn.
It
that
should,
is brutal.
For that level of detail that went into every aspect of this film. Is it still worth seeing? Absolutely. It's a solid story and it's a lot of setup for Phase 5. But I wish they would have found a way to portion out the scale better to connect with audiences in a way that would wow them and not overwhelm them.
So
I stand behind that.
So
yeah.
To add to your waterboarding comment, here's what I put in mind. Okay. The disadvantage to such a dense and strong start to Phase 5 is Marvel must keep the momentum going. They have driven a very large story truck off a steep cliff, and they must now navigate it quickly to hold viewers' interest. And I ended it
torture
with
and all this
going off
cliffs.
To be fair, I ended it by saying Ant-Man is an Avengers level film that comes in hot to kick off Phase 5 with a dense amount of story plot that may require multiple viewings to catch all of the story points.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah. And it's like part of the problem with that too is that the Ant-Man franchise has never really been that level of big. It's always both the first and the second film were these small individual films that kind of took place in their own little realm. Quantum realm.
I'm like, there's a pun there. Let's get to it.
So like, and then to go to introduce the third film and drastically take everything in a different direction, it kind of, gets everything off center.
Yeah.
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 But
it was a good start to the phase.
It was a good start to the phase. It is a good start to the phase. What I feel kind of sad about, specifically for members of the crew of this movie, is I want them to do so much more with the quantum realm, with the level of detail that they put into it. I turned to Jen at the end of the movie and I was like, hey Jen, does Universal Studios or Disney Orlando, like who owns the rights to Ant-Man? Because it seems like something that you could
West Coast.
Yeah, it won't be in Florida because Universal owns the rights to Ant-Man there. But I mean, it's just wide open for like a park adaptation of that space and like that bar and like, I mean, it's just, I mean, it felt like it had Disney World written all over. I had Disneyland written all over it. But
I mean, there were definitely parts of it that would really lend themselves to being adapted into something in a theme park.
Flying on a manta ray.
I was going to say, I'm still calling it a Banshee in my head, honestly, but that's a completely different film franchise, also owned by Disney.
Disney.
But it really did lend itself to it. We won't see it on the East Coast. I am 98% sure that Ant-Man is represented in that mural that they always talk about at Universal Studios Orlando. So
Really?
yeah.
And for those people, Jen, can you kind of explain that for people that aren't familiar with?
Yeah, so it's a big complex thing, but to boil it down to something easily digestible, essentially, when Disney got the rights for Marvel, within that contract was built in a clause, essentially, that anything that was represented in Universal Studios Orlando, the theme park, could not be in a Disney theme park east of the Mississippi. So the Incredible Hulk, and they've got this whole big Avengers mural in Universal Studios. So they have the Incredible Hulk ride there already. The Spider-Man ride is there. They've got all sorts of stuff in Universal Studios, which means that they can't have it at Disney World. And there's as I was saying, there's specifically a mural that kind of represents a whole slew of Marvel characters, and Disney World cannot have any of those characters represented. Black Panther is on it, for example, Captain America, all your favorites, with the exceptions of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I am fairly convinced that Disney made the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise specifically so that we could have them represented in parks on the East Coast. Because otherwise, that's a weird comic to make a franchise out of.
Fair.
Yeah, but it's such a great ride.
It's such an amazing ride.
Matt and I wouldn't know yet, but we'll get there eventually.
Later this year.
Yes.
I will say, as someone that has back and neck problems when riding roller coasters, that is by far the smoothest coaster I've ever ridden on in my life. And I wasn't scared for my spine actively during it. Like, we got a rock and roller coaster a couple days later.
Is that the individual, the new ride, or is that the one that was converted Tower of Terror?
So this one is a new ride. It's at Epcot. The converted Tower of Terror is in Disneyland.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that one's West Coast. We still have the regular Tower of Terror here, and if they touch it, I will riot. So
it's a classic.
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
It's amazing. Don't touch it. But yeah, no, the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is a coaster at Epcot. It's amazing. It's super, super smooth, and the ride is slightly different. They've got 6 different kind of ride experiences based on what song you are listening to, presumably on the Zune. So it's amazing, and I love it, and it's great.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
Well, we have done an excellent job of stalling for time.
Timing.
Embargo has officially lifted.
Speaking of Jonathan Majors. So the basic premise of this is Jonathan Majors is great in anything. So if you need to make your movie better, add Jonathan Majors. He's great in Ant-Man. He is great in Creed. And just the world needs more Jonathan Majors.
It needs more Lovecraft. We need Lovecraft.
We need more Lovecraft Country. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was so good.
It was.
Oh, now I'm sad because that show ended.
Yes.
Same.
Thanks, Emma.
Sorry. Got to bring the mood down.
But yes. So we can talk about Creed now, which I saw this week. And I have to admit, it is my least favorite Creed movie.
Even with Jonathan Majors in it.
Even with Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is great. And so basically, Creed and Michael B. Jordan, this is his directorial debut. He has been handed the reins of the franchise. And he does a decent enough job. He does a commendable effort. He still has a lot of work to do as a director. The boxing scenes are amazing in this film. He captures, the intensity, the blood, the sweat. All of that is captured great. And he does some really creative directing choices, especially in the whole big final fight between Creed and Damien, who is Jonathan Majors. And that is all fantastic. Where he struggles as a director is the smaller, more dialogue moments between characters. I feel those kind of became stale, and because it's basically just, side shot of one character talking, side shot of the next character talking, just going back and forth between the characters talking, and there's no dynamic there, and it just kind of stalls. But yeah, Jonathan Majors is awesome. The boxing stuff is awesome. But my biggest problem and my issue with the film is the story itself. So basically, the story is Adonis Creed. He is the pound for pound best boxer in the world at the moment, and he goes out on top. He wins. He has a rematch with Conlon, who was the boxer from the first film. They have a rematch. He wins. And essentially, he goes out on top. After that, he decides to retire and focus more on his family. And so he's focusing on Bianca, who is played by Tessa Thompson, and his daughter, who in the last film, it was, they had the daughter. She was born deaf. And so he's focusing on family, but at the same time, he's also focusing on the boxing gym. So he's training basically the next him. So he's training people to become champions. And all of a sudden, Jonathan Majors, Damian Anderson comes into the picture, and he's this character from his past. They used to be best friends. They grew up in the same orphanage together, and Damian ended up going to prison while Adonis ended up becoming the champion of the world. And Damian believes that he wants that chance. He wants to be the best because, when they were kids, Damian was this champion. He was a Golden Gloves amateur boxer. And so it's this confronting your past aspect. And I feel like the film tries to be this almost anti-Rocky, where it's doing the Rocky story from like a villain's perspective almost, because Damian is portrayed as this bad guy. And so it's like, okay, what if we put the Rocky story but do it from the bad guy's perspective, where, it's this Cinderella story, but, he's not a good person. He will literally do whatever it takes to get to the top, even if it means doing shady stuff. And a lot of it also deals with Adonis and the feelings and his emotions getting the better of him. So there's a lot of heartfelt moments in this film where he is trying to teach his daughter, essentially. Like, he wants to teach his daughter boxing and be like, you need to be able to protect yourself. You need to, you need to be able to box. You need to be able to fight. You got to take care of yourself. Meanwhile, Bianca, Tessa Thompson, she's like, you need to be able to express your feelings. You need to be able to talk things out. Like, there's a lot of these scenes, and everything revolves around Michael B. Jordan coming to terms with his feelings, because his past is getting brought up, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He just basically bottles it in. And so everything is so much about these feelings, and, whether to talk about, he just wants to fight. He just wants to, everything for his life has been punching. And of course, this is the Rocky franchise. So like, you have to end with a big fight. And like, that's where it goes to. And I felt like it does such a disservice to the film to have so much of it revolve around this whole aspect about, feelings versus violence, where just, I'm just going to punch my way through everything, when it comes to a head with the Rocky franchise, where it kind of writes itself into its own corner of well, this is a Rocky franchise, so of course we have to end with this big fight between everybody. Like, that's just how it is. And that's how it goes. And it builds this story into something and then just completely ignores everything else in the final moments. And I was just disappointed by that.
That's a pity.
I wanted more from that.
Yeah, that's understandable. And my understanding is there's going to be a lot more coming from like the Creed universe too. So,
I mean, it's possible because like at the same time, it's all like, everybody's telling Creed like, oh yeah, like you've been out of the game for too long, you're too old, your time is done kind of stuff. And like, he's retired and everything. So it's like, I honestly don't see what else they can do with it. I mean,
pulling this up because I recently wrote about it.
Perhaps the daughter?
So yeah, Michael B. Jordan's actively been teasing plans for Creed 5.
5? What
Yeah,
about 4?
or excuse me, 4. Getting ahead of myself. But no, so Jordan, in an interview with IGN, they asked if there's going to be a 4th movie, and Jordan said, for sure, I want to expand the Creed verse within reason, but definitely expect other things around Creed for sure. So maybe other characters. He did say also, I think that, he's talking about Sylvester Stallone. This is a Creed franchise, and we really want to build this story in this world around Creed moving forward. So,
I mean, there's still, of course, like, he's still alive at the end. So, of course, he can never, he's always able to come back, out of retirement and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if the money's there, of course they're going to continue. And what? Robert?
What?
Did you have something to
you
say?
started to say something.
Oh no. I was gonna say like anything in Hollywood, if it's making a buck, they'll keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I'm looking at like what the first film. So the first film was made on a budget of made for a budget of 35 million, and it grossed to 173 million globally. And then Creed 2, which was 2018, was made for a budget of 50 million and grossed 214. So it'll be interesting to see.
What was the budget of Creed 3? Do you know?
Creed 3?
Is that?
Give me a second. Creed 3 is it's not publicized yet.
I imagine it's probably more than that.
I would imagine it's more than that too.
Yeah.
You generally see like a sizable increase on budget, and usually that's the stars and like the salary they're getting paid because you're making like a third film. So I'm sure Michael B. Jordan got a nice paycheck, especially with directing too, and
Tessa Thompson,
producer too, and
I imagine Jonathan Majors isn't cheap these days.
No,
yeah.
He's doing all right for himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels, I could see like, cause there's also the guy who played Drago's son in the last film. He returns briefly in this film. So like, I feel like they could also do more and kind of do almost a Drago film and focus on him potentially in the future. So, but yeah, I mean, I wanted more from this film because the first 2 films had a lot of heart to them outside of the boxing aspect. And the potential was there for that in this film, but they just couldn't deliver on that. And I don't want to say it's because Rocky was missing, because Rocky is not in this film in any capacity. Like, he gets mentioned briefly, but Sylvester Stallone isn't in it. So, but like, it isn't bad because he's not in it.
It's got a number of other things.
Yeah. It's like they could have. It's like I feel like if they had stuck with the original, well, not the original, but like if they had stuck with the whole, trying to talk about your feelings and trying to get away from violence and stuff like that, it would have been more interesting. But I feel at the same time like it wouldn't have been a Creed film. It wouldn't have been a Rocky film. It would have been this film in this franchise, because like that's not what this franchise is about. And
That's
so like it's almost this double-edged sword that they have, where it's like we got to create a Rocky/Creed film, but like we got to have these big boxing matches, but we want to explore the more nuanced characters here. And they couldn't combine both of those together, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll figure it out in another one.
Maybe they'll figure it out in the fourth film.
Yeah. I don't know how many of you guys saw Warrior that came out. It was with Tom Hardy and Joel Egerton. It was like an MMA film. I think it was 2011 that it came out. But it was basically this whole two brothers. One of them, Tom Hardy, was in the military, and like he, came on hard times. And the other brother was like, he became a school teacher, but he was fighting in these underground MMA fights to make money because he had bills to pay, and teacher salary wasn't enough to pay for his house and stuff for his family.
What? No.
Yeah. And I saw very similarities between that film and this. Because Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, their characters grew up together in the same environment, and then they diverged. One went to jail, one didn't, and it was just, I saw many similarities in these films, and I feel like that Creed 3 is like a lesser Warrior film.
Okay.
So you'd recommend people see that instead?
Like Warrior. Honestly, Warrior is like one of my favorite films, like of all time. Like it's a really good film.
All right.
It's high praise.
Like even if you don't like MMA, it's like it's got really good fights and stuff. But at the same time, it's like a really good story and got really good like emotional and character development and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend Warrior if you haven't seen it.
Good time.
Duly noted. Well, I feel like we're starting to work our way into like more movies or more, not necessarily more movies, but like movies we've been anticipating more so than the things that we've been seeing in the first part of this year. So,
I mean, the first 2 months of the year are slow.
Summer.
Yeah, I mean it's slow the first 2 months of the year, and March feels like, all right, let's start.
Let's do it.
Let's start punching out those big names.
And on that note, kind of talking about our next show, which will be on March 9th, again, 9 p.m. We're going to have so many reviews. We're going to have Operation Fortune, which is Guy Ritchie's new movie. We're going to have Scream. Which one is it? Scream 5.
Who knows?
17.
324 something.
The new Scream.
Yeah, but
The new Scream.
It's one of the Screams.
Scream goes to New York,
basically,
because that's what happens.
And then I don't know if we're gonna see Shazam before our next show or not, but what I will say is really cool is they are doing an influencer event, which I'm going to, which is going to be indoor skydiving. So
what?
Yeah, it's going to be like take a picture like in your like superhero flying pose.
Your superhero pose?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I've done
cool.
indoor skydiving once before, and I will say I did it in Pigeon Forge, and it's really hard to get like a flattering photo of yourself. So we'll see how the photo turns out. Now,
So that's what you want for an influencer event.
Be the superhero, the 3-point landing.
If I recall, so like the way it works is like essentially there's like a giant fan and you're in this like tube, and then there's like a mesh over it, and then you kind of
blow up at you, yeah,
and then you just lift up, and then they bring you back down. So again,
It looks easier than it actually is, I imagine.
Yeah,
because like I've seen videos of like experts doing it and like almost dancing.
Yeah,
as they go up and down and stuff, and it's like,
well, yeah, because you're. I mean, think of simple aerodynamics. Like your body is not rigid, and none of us. Not speaking for everybody, but I'm sure we can all agree. None of us are coordinated enough on the ground, let alone the air, to keep the airflow level underneath our bodies, so that we raise up instead of basically doing somersaults in the air and running into the wall.
That is the thing, is like I think your hands, like your head has to be like your arms and your shoulders have to be up like a little bit higher,
right?
Like when you're kind of
to create a dome so that you go up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's changed. Probably not, but we'll see.
And Emma will have video.
I want to see video.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll definitely record something. I think it'll be fun. So we've got that. And then Matt and I are headed to the Trilith Gala on March 3rd. So we'll talk about how that is.
Fancy.
Trilith is always fancy. They're always doing cool, fancy stuff down at Trilith. So
Old Pinewood.
Old Pinewood. I still I have to catch myself every single time because I still want to call it Pinewood. But yeah, so we'll report back on that next time, and I'm sure we'll have some other stuff that comes up between now and then. I think everyone here is very interested in seeing Adam Driver's new movie 65, which is the dinosaurs, which we've heard literally nothing about a press screening for. So I'm
not yet.
And I have a funny little anecdote on that as well.
All right, go. What you got?
So they're doing Instagram ads for it now. Obviously, we don't know much about it. If you get a moment, catch one of the Instagram ads and check out the comments.
Oh God.
See, you probably just have to search for 65 and then just scroll endlessly waiting to get an ad for it after you.
Let me just say that I think everybody in the comments is either trolling or truly and honestly thinks that the film is trying to be true story instead of science fiction.
What?
Yeah. And people are going on rants about how, it's trying to change the story about human existence. The world isn't this old.
Oh my God.
I'm like, wow, guys.
It's a dinosaur sci-fi.
It's a sci-fi movie, for God's sake.
Obviously not founded in any sort of reality.
No, people. It's not.
Because
it's a movie.
Ant-Man is a documentary.
Yeah.
The quantum realm is a real place.
And last night somebody stepped on it and it's dead. So, I mean.
Cocaine Bear is real, y'all.
You can go see Bear in North Georgia.
Coked out Croc, the Florida edition. I'm just saying. It's coming.
Meth gator. Yeah, I agree with Jen.
Oh my God.
It's Florida. It's going to be meth gator.
That would be terrifying.
On that note, now that we've given all of these brilliant
ideas
to Hollywood of future films that they can make.
Pay us, Hollywood, for our ideas.
We're here to help. We can write scripts for you. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight to another episode of Nerd Herd Live. Like I said, we'll be back on March 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern, all the places we normally stream. And we'll have a ton of reviews for you then. And then also Matt and I's journey down to Trilith. So on that note, I will throw it to Matt to start the closeout.
Once again, I am Matt Rodriguez with shakefire.net. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Matt Rodriguez and Instagram at Matthew M. Rodriguez. Robert?
You can find me at 3fbyspace.net. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 3fbyspace, or me personally at Robert W. Prentice on Twitter and Instagram. Jen?
Hi, guys. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Renlark, RENNLARK. Emma?
And I'm Emma Loggins. You can find me pretty much everywhere but TikTok at Emma Loggins, and of course, fanbolt.com, where I'm writing between 1 and 3 articles a day. It's slowly killing me, but I love it. The brutal honesty of running an entertainment site. But no, we all love watching movies and sharing them with you guys. So thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you guys on March 9th. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.